If you want to be healthier and more fit, but you're so busy running your business or being a leader or doing your job that you really never have time to get healthy and fit, then this episode is absolutely for you. This is for everyone. Today I had the pleasure of sitting down with my buddy Cole Taylor of The Starting Line, where we talked everything fitness, wellness, mindset, identity, entrepreneurship, and how we as leaders can really have it all when we choose to become the person that we want to be and we choose to prioritize the things that are important to us. So banish your excuses that you're too busy to take care of your health and your body and your well-being, and tune in and listen to this episode, my conversation with Cole Taylor. All right, what's up, guys? I'm here with my buddy Cole Taylor of The Starting Line. We're going to dive into health and wellness, fitness, business, and much more. So Cole and I met, I guess it was December, about 6 months ago, at an event out in Utah for Revolt. And it was awesome. Got to see him speak, got to see him pour into the audience, got to experience a little bit of what he trains on and helps people level up with. So happy to have him on, because I think I know this is something that everyone can use some leveling up with in terms of like how to be more optimized with your health and how that translates into being an effective entrepreneur and leader in all areas of life. So what's going on, my man? How are you?
What up, Joseph? It is good to be here. Honored to be on the show. Hopefully can add some value to the crew listening today.
Yeah, no hope. We're going to make it happen. So give the audience a little bit of a background, who you are and what you do and why you do it, most importantly.
Sure. Yeah. So I went from being a college athlete so I played Division I football, and then went straight from getting a business degree playing football into full-time pastoral ministry. So I was a pastor at a church. I thought that was the best way I could make an impact on people. So I grew up in a family of pastors, a family of church planters, and that was just kind of the road ahead of me of like, hey, if I want to make an impact, that's what you do. I very quickly realized that while that was very fulfilling and awesome, there was a lot more that I wanted to do. And two reasons. One, I didn't like making $30,000 a year and working 80 hours a week. That's not fun. But more on the internal side is there's things that I wanted to talk about that you don't really as a pastor. Playing college sports, I had personal training and nutrition certifications, and I had a passion for business too. I was actually getting my master's, and I realized like, hey, there's some other stuff that I want to talk about, not just your faith, but the other areas of life as well. And so that led me to starting a coaching business focused on health, because I believe your fitness is the foundation. If I can fix how I feel, how I perform, the energy that I bring, it translates into every other area. And so that led me to starting that. And now me and my business partner have helped over 50,000 people now just see incredible results in their health and fitness. And how that leads into acceleration in the other areas of life is really cool to see.
Wow, 15,000, that's freaking impact. That's awesome. That's incredible.
Cool. Yeah, it's I like to look at it as someone coming from being a pastor, as this is just the ministry I do outside of the church. And so I look at the coaching we do as just another way to impact and change lives, because to me, it's not about the abs and the biceps. Those are cool for the ladies that want a big butt. Like the new body change is cool, but it's the stuff that we hear of, dads being able to play with their kids more, or the energy they have to show up to their family better, and the relationships that are improved because of that. Like, that stuff is what's fulfilling. Or even just people saying like, hey, I got off my blood pressure medication, or my doctor said I'm, not at risk for diabetes or heart issues anymore. Like, that's the stuff that we do it for. And so for me, it's just another really cool opportunity to make impact on people's lives.
Yeah, dude, those things hit home for me. Like, that's, I like to be fit. I like to be lean. I like to, look good at the beach and all that, like anyone else. But really, it's more about like feeling the best I can feel when I wake up and all day, and having the energy for my business, for my kids, family, like everything. And so everything I do is kind of like for that goal, so you know what those pain points are.
Well, it's so important. And I think most people try to get motivated by the other things, and there's nothing wrong with looking great. Like of course I want to look good. I want abs. I want people to compliment me on my body. Like that's a positive thing. There's nothing selfish about that. It's just people want to feel and look good. But if that's the only motivation, it's never going to be enough of a why to drive people. You're going to have to rely on willpower for that to happen. I believe that why power is way stronger than willpower. And for people to actually get those lasting results, it can't be just a physical drive. It's got to be those things we talked about is like, I want to be around for my kids. I want to be the best version of me. I want to have the energy I need to, show up today, but also make the impact I'm called to. And when that's the goal, the abs and the biceps are looking good, they become a byproduct of that. But if the abs is the goal, then it never happens. So you got to focus on the internal stuff and let that why drive you more than just the physical stuff.
Man, that's so true. And I couldn't help but think about, as you're talking about that, the parallel to business, right? Like money not being the primary why. Maybe that is when you first start out, but like if you really want to be significant and make an impact, like it needs to be about something more than money. And then money becomes a byproduct of providing value and really helping people. So that's really cool how you draw that parallel.
There's so many parallels we could talk about with business and fitness.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of from my perspective, that seems to be your specialty, right? Like you guys work with like high performing entrepreneurs, or don't let me put words in your mouth, but like who is like an ideal client for you guys, and why have you chosen that?
Yeah, we've helped a lot of people of all different walks of life, and that's with some of our less hands-on coaching. We provide resources, and that's where the big numbers like 50,000 come from, where it's less custom and more just use our app, get workouts, get nutrition. But our main focus and really where we spend most of our time is people like you said. It's entrepreneurs, executives, high-level professionals, people that are not only very driven, but in my opinion, the people that really need this the most, because they are the shortest on time and focus on other things, but they have the most opportunity to make an impact. And with that kind of weird dangling a balance of they tend to neglect it more, but they need it the most. We're really passionate about that.
Yeah, that's perfect. Okay. And so what are some of the things that, like, how do you engage with a client as far as your coaching services?
Yeah. So as far as on the delivery side, we like to do what we call not just fitness coaching, but more health concierge. It's more than just workouts and meal plans. That is the foundation, and that's what everybody needs to start. But once you've gotten those basic foundations, for someone to really be able to perform better and get into overall health, you need more than just a meal plan and a workout program. You need, what we call mindset and maximizers. So the fitness side is meals and movement. The health and performance side is mindset and maximizers. So if I'm going to really perform at my best, I need to dial in the internal side of things, which I could talk for hours about that. I'll spare you a 30-minute talk on that. But I need to make sure I have a winning mindset and the belief and identity of myself to actually maintain it. But second, that's where we get into what I call maximizers, is the testing that we do, the hormones, the gut health, the nutrient deficiencies. And so we basically take the fitness side of meals and movement, and we add mindset, and then a much deeper health concierge look of bringing doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, and trainers all together around the testing we do to fully customize a protocol from someone to make sure they're not just getting abs and biceps, but becoming the best version of themselves.
Wow, that's awesome. So I guess there's a lot of things. And I guess speaking from personal experience, like I started to go through your guys' process a little bit, and like I got busy and I fell off track. So yeah, that's on me. But one of the conversations was around the gut health and getting your hormones tested and all your, I guess, your blood work to understand like really what's going on. Because like with my thing is like I might be going through life, I'm deficient in something or another, and maybe I don't know. And of course, I want to know that so I can correct that. So like, is that pretty common for people?
Yeah. So it's everyone honestly is probably deficient because of the way our society is right now. The lack of nutrients in our foods, or the amount of stress we live under, or the lack of taking care of ourselves. Everyone has some sort of issues, some more than others. And so for us, you can only do so much with just a meal plan and movements. Those are great, and that's a great foundation. But if you're truly going to fix the roots instead of just fixing the fruit, or pull up the whole weed instead of just the top, you have to understand what's going on down there. And so understanding things like hormones is a massive piece. So, for entrepreneurs that we coach, cortisol, stress hormone, is a massive thing that we see over and over, probably 95+% of our clients. And the ones that don't have high levels, it's just they're weirdos and they just don't get stressed by anything. And
who are those people?
Yeah, who are those people? I don't know. They're superhuman. But we see that, and most people they don't even know they have it usually, because they're just so accustomed to, I'm a driven person, I'm always stressed. But what happens is those high levels of cortisol decrease your metabolism, they increase your appetite, they actually raise insulin resistance, your body's ability to process carbs and sugars. So all of those things are major red flags if you're trying to lose body fat or be healthier. And so stuff like that, understanding, hey, I've got an issue that I didn't even know about. If I can fix this, it makes everything else way easier. And maybe it's not like I just need more discipline and I got to eat less and move more. Maybe I'm just not healthy on the inside. And if I could fix that, everything else kind of follows. And so data like that allows us to really fix the actual internal issue instead of just keep trying to throw a plan at it.
Okay, very interesting. All right. Yeah, you mentioned the word stress, and then like I commented the other day on your post about cortisol. That kind of like my ears perked up because and I'm not like I don't have the education about the stuff that you do, of course, but I feel it like when for example, when I go on vacation, my wife and I'll go on vacation or family vacation, right? Like, we're indulging a little bit more in food and maybe having a couple of drinks here and there. And like, I usually come back from vacation, like leaner and like not as bloated. And, we tend to be active on vacation too. But we're pretty much always active. But like, I feel like it's because there's less stress and there's less cortisol. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But maybe just in my regular life, like I'm walking around with like this extra cortisol bloat, like whatever it is. And on vacation, it's just like, I don't know, it kind of goes away.
No, it's a major factor. I think there's other things that play into it too, like the types of foods you ate, maybe the amount of water you drank, the less amount of time on your feet. There's tons of things, but cortisol is probably the biggest driver of that. Of, hey, I just allowed myself to actually rest, and then my body can take a breath and it stops like holding on for dear life. This happens to me all the time too, is I'm trying to lose weight, lean up for something. And, I just have made a goal to lose some body fat, and I will stall out or stop seeing progress, even though nothing changed input wise. Like I'm eating the same things, working out the same, but it stalls out. And usually I'm like, okay, I probably need to just eat less and move more. Like we got to get more aggressive. And our team is like, hold on, Mr. high cortisol levels. You actually need the opposite right now because of the way we know your body. And so there's times where they'll make me eat more, kind of like you did, and move less. And because your body comes out of that stress state, it's not that it's really honestly counterintuitive to what we think, but because it comes out of that stress state, it allows your body to actually start functioning properly and stop like sabotaging itself, basically. Well, I'm not telling people to like, if you're not seeing progress, like just go shove your face and don't move. But if you're someone that's been doing the work consistently and you stop seeing progress, or you feel like you're working really hard, but you're not getting the results you want, it could be a hormone issue that's actually sabotaging a lot of the work you're putting in.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. I'll notice that like if I get more sleep, maybe on the weekends I'm catching up on sleep a little bit, like I feel leaner, I look leaner, like it's just that recovery that the body is like craving, right? That a lot of times I know that during the week I'm not giving myself enough,
Yeah, more is not always better. Like you don't have to work out 7 days a week. Sometimes it's actually counterproductive. I'm a big proponent of always moving every day, of getting steps in and moving your body and stretching and making sure you're staying loose. But like, there's no reason you're killing yourself every single day unless you're an athlete that's training for something. Because there's actually a line where athletic performance and overall health and feeling good diverge. Like up to a certain point, they're the same. But once you push past the line of like, I'm really going into performance versus I want to be healthy and sustainability, they start to divert at some point. Because like the best athletes in the world aren't always the healthiest because they're putting their body in so much stress, and vice versa.
All right. So speaking of working out and all that stuff, like one of the biggest challenges I think that you probably hear all the time is like, man, like, or not challenges, but objections is I don't have the time. Like, how do I make time to like, I don't have time to like be healthy. I'm sure you have a whole book on, how to overcome that, but like,
there's a lot I could say. I think maybe I'll whittle it down to three things. One would be, it's not a time issue. It's a priority issue. Like if you really wanted to do it, you would make it happen. And that's not me like bashing someone or knocking on them. Like I get it. I've been there before too, but until you realize how important it is, it's not going to ever be something you have time for. Like, do you have time to go sit on the toilet for 20 minutes and scroll on Instagram? No, but you still find a way to do it because you made time for it as a priority for you. Your stomach hurt. Terrible example, but you get the idea. Like if it's important enough to you, you're going to go do it.
Yep.
And so prioritization and realizing, hey, like if I was healthier and if I felt good and if I could be around a lot longer, how important would that be to me? Well, once you can settle that inside yourself, you'll make time. That's one. But two, I think a lot of hesitation our clients see on this is they don't realize the effects it's actually going to have. They don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, if I don't work out for a couple of weeks, like it's not going to affect me that much. If I don't eat very good, it's not going to affect me. Like I just don't have time for this. But it's almost like the concept of, if you grew up a faith person, again, being a pastor, I often think of the Bible again, but the concept that the church teaches of the tithe of, hey, if I give this 10% to God, he can do way more with the 90% that I still have. It's the same thing with fitness. Is like if I can like carve out just like a little bit of time to pour into myself and make sure I'm my best, the 90% I have left is way more effective than the 100% I was because I didn't feel good. So that's kind of a second perspective. But third, when it comes down to actually practical things, you just need to be able to not only prioritize it, but schedule it. Like it's not that you don't have time, you just don't have control of your schedule. You're not choosing to make time. And so I encourage our clients for working out, for example, to schedule it just like a business meeting. Like if you had a really important appointment at 2:00 every day, you'd be there for it because it was important and it was in your calendar. Same thing. If I prioritize this enough and I put it in my calendar as a recurring meeting, it's just a non-negotiable. I do it because I've scheduled it. And so there's lots of mindset piece to it, but at the practical side is just put it in the calendar and do it and have the discipline to stick to it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, my workouts are pretty routine, but they're in my calendar every day. So like, it is what it is, right? And I just have to do it every morning. And there are times in my business early on years ago when I was like consciously, I'd be like, all right, we're in a season of business right now. I just need to grind. I'm just going to neglect everything else and work 12 to 14 hours a day. And I totally get it. When you're first starting out, those seasons are necessary. But as I've gotten, older and maybe a little bit wiser, I don't want to work that many hours, right? Like I just want to be more effective in the hours that I am working, having a wife and 2 kids, and I don't want to work more hours. So I need to figure out a way to be as optimized as possible. So
I think the magic of this, really shifted for me, and we get a lot of our clients to see is instead of taking the mentality of like in this season, I'm just like, I'm all in on business and I can't do it. And I'm off a program or I'm falling off the wagon or whatever, was realizing like with your health, there's no on or off. It's just how much. And so once you set that standard of, hey, like I will always act like a healthy person, some seasons way more, some less, instead of I'm on or off, I think is a really healthy perspective shift. Because when you get in seasons like that, where it's like I'm working 14 hours a day, I don't have time to go to the gym. That's okay. Like I understand that, I'm choosing not to make time is even a better way to say that. And you're okay with that, you can still do some things to keep you moving in that direction. Like instead of going to the gym, maybe it's I just take some of my calls while I'm walking. Like I'm getting steps in the day, or I have a treadmill desk here that I can raise my desk and walk while I'm getting work done. Or maybe it's I'm at least doing some push-ups when I wake up and I'm eating healthy food. Like you can still do something to move in that direction instead of it's all out the window and I'll get to it next year.
Yeah, that's huge. That's like, I love challenging your assumptions, right? Like we all have the assumptions, I don't have time or I don't have time to go to the gym, but like just challenge those assumptions. Like maybe I do, maybe I can figure it out. Maybe I am someone like that personally. I'm like, hey, if I can't do it, if I can't do an hour, I don't want to just do 15 minutes, but hey, maybe 15 or 30 is all I got because I have an early flight or whatever. And I gotta, I'm not just going to like chalk up a whole day to a rest day because I have a flight or something like that. Let's see what I can get in there.
It's the all in, all out mentality that kills most high achievers. That they always look at it as like a start and a stop, or I'm either crushing it or I just throw it all out the window. But if you're going to be someone that not just wins once and gets a goal and falls off, but someone who is a dynasty type person where you're always winning, you have to have those standards of I'm at least moving in this direction. There's no on or off. It's, hey, I am choosing to not work out for 2 hours a day. That's fine. I'm going to at least go for a walk, or I'm going to at least do something because that's who I am and I'm moving in this direction.
Yeah, identity. So that's why that's a big part of like what you coach on.
Yeah.
Okay. What about motivation? That's a weird word. Like, can you motivate people, or like, do you try to like extract from people what their why might be, or like, how do you? I mean, I guess if someone's coming to you, they're kind of that they've got a seed of motivation, right? Like,
sure.
What do you do there?
I think there's a lot of like word semantics that can be thrown around, like, arguing the same thing just in different ways. But the way I look at it is like you have to have some sort of deep internal why, or that why power, that motivation for yourself for it to ever be lasting. Like I can give someone like a jolt to get up to the starting line and get and go, but I can't sustain, like I can't carry them. I can be a lighthouse and give them the direction, but I can't be the lifeguard to like pull them over the boat. And so for motivation's sake is like, I think a lot of times God uses my words or, what we do to get someone to like get internally inspired to take a step. But for them to take more than one step to continue stepping, it's got to be an internal thing for them that they've decided within themselves of either this is who I'm going to be, or, this is the why that I'm chasing this for. Like it's got to move from external to internal if it's ever going to be lasting.
Got it. Okay. Trying to inspire them. That makes complete sense. Yeah. Again, from a business perspective, it's like, we provide marketing training and business coaching. Like it's really hard to be invested in someone's success more than they are, right? If they don't want it, if they're not going to like show up and do the work, it's like, man, there's only so much that we can do. Right.
You can't eat the food. Like for us, we can't eat the food for them. We can't move their body for them. We can do every single thing else. Like I send them the food, it shows up at their house, but I can't make them do it. And so, there's only so far you got to decide within yourself that I'm willing to commit to the process.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So speaking of that, like you send them the food, you help them like accountability. I think that you guys are like part of your concierge service is like, helping pick out like restaurants if an entrepreneur is traveling and things like that, which I thought was pretty unique.
Yeah.
So we're talking about some of the ways that you provide that concierge service to your clients.
Yeah. The goal is to do whatever we can to make life easy for them. So it doesn't have to be a continual discipline decision. It's just what my business partner calls is putting your routine on autopilot. Like it just happens for me and I just follow the system. That's the hope. Now, practically, that just depends on where someone is and what they need. But a couple examples are, if I'm at home, having my prepackaged meal prep show up my house every week, or we send people's groceries to them every week via Instacart. So they have the resources they need, even supplements to take what they, to input in their body. Or, if they're traveling, we can send Uber Eats to their office, or we can send Uber Eats to their hotel. Like we can fill those gaps, or like you said, help them order from a restaurant, tell them, you're going to these 3 places, here's what to order. Like the more that they don't have to think about it, the better. And we can kind of systematize that for them. Other examples are we book, appointments for them, whether it's a doctor's appointment or a gym pass at a gym when they're traveling, or even adjusting their workouts to what's available. It's like, hey, I have a hotel gym. Awesome. We'll rebuild a workout for that. Or I don't have time to go to the gym. I'm going to do a body weight workout. I got 15 minutes in the morning. Awesome. We'll make something for you. And so that's kind of what the concierge looks like, is their health executive assistant to just make their life easy so that all they have to do is run the plan and then they get on with their life.
Man, that's so beneficial to our audience here, which is like the contracting industry, where in general, people have more money than they do time. They need time, they need structure. The accountability can be huge, obviously, but like, man, there's people out there like listening to this, watching this. I know that you're busy. I know you think you don't have time, but this is something that like Cole said, you just put your routine on autopilot. You don't have to think about it. That's huge, right? We have that structure. So like, you're in the airport and you already know, like you have your meal with you. Like you're not tempted to go stop at Chili's and stuff your face. Like we've all been there before, we're all human, but like having more structure helps you make better decisions.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to that phrase, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And if I don't have a structure for me, like even the stuff we can't do for someone, like it's a quick decision, like, hey, we don't have time to order something for them, but they're running through the airport and it's, they have a little convenience store there. It's like us telling them what to do helps them not fail. It's because the decision's made for them and all they got to do is do it. And so, having someone there for you to just tell you what to do and systematize that for you removes all the, maybe I should do this, but I really want the Cheez-Its or I really want the M&Ms. Like, no, you already were told what to get. Just do it. Did you do it?
Now, do clients have to like, do they log what they eat? So like they have to report if they do eat the Cheez-Its? Like,
yeah. That's the hope. And we try to provide a pretty safe space to, it's like, hey, if you did just eat the Cheez-Its, it's fine. Just let us know. And it's not that big of a deal. We can adjust around it and we'll fix it, because again, it's progress over perfection. But we're also there. It's kind of the truth and love side, where it's on the front end. We're going to tell you like, don't be a dummy, eat the like eat the chicken we told you to eat. Don't get the ice cream. But when they do it, it's like, all right, no big deal. Like this is a long game. Let's the next 2 meals, we're just gonna cut back on these 2 things and we're good. And so it's we try to be the stick and the carrot for them.
Okay. Yeah. Tough role. Okay. What are some challenges, like common challenges that, whether it's like when you first take clients on or like throughout the journey, that you see with busy entrepreneurs over and over again?
Yeah, the biggest part is always what you referred to earlier as the identity piece. And it's why we talk about it so much is all of our clients in some capacity have the ability to be disciplined, the ability to be structured, the ability to work hard. That's why they have successful businesses. So it's not a question of discipline or of their ability to do something. And honestly, like it's not that hard to eat a food or to go decide to move your body once. Like those things themselves are never difficult, but it's the longevity that is really becomes the hard part for people. And it's why they've lost 20 pounds 20 times before. And so we end up running into the same problem they've ran into before is the person they are on the inside, the beliefs, the identity, the character at some point will start to come at odds with the thing we're trying to do. It's because that's why they've had the body they have at this point is because there's a belief system in there that's been programmed to like either I'm not capable of this or I don't have time for this or I'm not the type of guy to be in shape or whatever that language is. We have to start to shift that identity because then the identity becomes the baseline of where they continue to act. And if we don't fix that, then they're always going to go back to where they were. And so that's the hardest part we see, but it's also the most rewarding is when we can show someone it's like, hey, you know what? I am capable of this. I am that type of person. I am going to be healthy. I am better than what I have been in the past. And once they start to believe that, then that's where the real longevity happens. And you get guys like we've got one of our longest standing clients is over 200 pounds lost now, like wild stuff happening because of that identity shift is when you can just continue and just keep getting back up and stay in the race. Like a lot happens and that requires becoming a new person.
All right. That's awesome. I love that. I read this statement on my phone. I have this in my notes every morning, my dynamic legacy. And like, I have a few I am statements in here.
Yeah.
And a couple of them are, and I read them out loud every morning. I am the example of discipline and consistency. And really like the example, like for me, it's like, I just want to be the best example for myself. Like it's not really for anyone else. I am the picture of mental and physical health, like just to myself. So I read those out loud every morning. So it kind of frames my identity fresh every morning. So like if I am, at the airport and I'm tempted by, whatever, then hopefully those things are still in my mind. I'm making, because I don't want to be, out of integrity with like what I'm telling myself every morning. And if I do go, cheat or go sit down at Chili's and have a, 3,000 calorie lunch, which is pretty easy to do at the airport, I feel like I'm, not being true to myself. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's something that I preach a lot too and that's really the foundation of shifting your identity is really what you said of I got to see the person I want to be. I got to visualize it. I got to vocalize it and I got to speak it out loud and start to put that in front of me. And so I can hear it. I can see it. I can start to believe it. And then whenever you go to make a decision, like James Clear says, every action you take is a vote for the person you're becoming if I can see that person again that I've been talking about and seeing like I just said I was going to be a healthy person that's disciplined and that has these habits and feels like this and performs like this. Now, when I go to make a decision, if I can see that person again, I can ask myself, does this action a vote for that person or for the person I don't want to be? And it reframes everything for you, makes it a lot easier for you to make a more powerful decision.
Yeah, right on. That's a great book, Atomic Habits, James Clear. Check it out, everyone. Yeah, really good book. Yeah. Another one I'm reading right now is called Become something about, I forget the exact title, Become Your Future Self Now or Be Your Future Self Now.
Yeah.
Really, really good book about like, hey, who is my future self? And like, how can I be like every day take actions toward becoming that person?
So good.
Similar to Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind, kind of reverse engineer that process. And I think that's, again, similar business, right? Like you can have someone that doesn't have a lot of business experience. Maybe they do really well or, like have a great year and then like lose all that money or give it away or end up squandering it because they just don't have the skills or the identity or the mindset to keep that, the lottery mentality.
Yeah. If you really want sustainable growth, it can't just be about the goal of I hit a 10K month, or I lost 20 pounds, or whatever that target is for you. It's got to be about the standards you're setting of who am I becoming, what am I doing on a daily basis, because that's the lasting results that begin to compound.
Yeah. What kind of goals do you have personally, like races or events or fitness shows or anything like that? Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I haven't done any physical competitions lately. It's actually a great question. I've been stirring on this a lot and figuring out like what is something I could begin to push myself towards. We have a ton of challenges within our community that kind of scratch that competitive itch a little bit. And I do challenges with friends that's, more input goal based, like you get points for following your diet or doing the workout. But I'm such an athlete in that, like playing college football, that was what motivated me to stay in shape, that I've teetered on like maybe I start doing more CrossFit because I do a lot of that anyways, or maybe it's Spartan races, or there's another one called Hyro. So it's a good question. I don't have any physical competitions I'm training for currently. It's kind of just been training to be the best me, but I've had that itch for sure, at least on the physical side. There's always goals, but I definitely haven't had enough competition lately.
Cool. Yeah, same here. Like I do at least like a marathon every year and a couple other events. And when you have, I don't currently have anything on the calendar, but like when you do, it definitely just like running a marathon, for example, it's not, the actual marathon to me is not that impressive.
Sure.
It's what you've done the 4 months prior to that. Like, your diet, your training, your rest, your recovery, all that, or
Sure.
even, some guys that are doing 100-mile ultras and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all impressive, but like you have to be disciplined. Like the amount of discipline that goes into that is insane.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's more impressive. So I like to have those goals. I like to sign up for things. Like I'm not, winning anything at this stage of my life, but just to sign up for those things to just hold myself accountable to like working towards something,
Yeah, and that's something we preach a lot too. And another amazing book along those lines of what we just talked about with Atomic Habits, and then the other one you talked about becoming is Craig Rochelle's book, The Power to Change. He's actually a pastor as well, but he talks about trying versus training. Most people try to reach their goal, or I try to lose weight, or I try to get in shape, or I try to lose 20 pounds. But the power happens is when I shift from trying to training, because trying presupposes that I may not do it. But whenever you are signing up for that marathon and you put your money on the line and you set the date, like you don't tell people, hey, I'm trying to run a marathon. It's like, no, I'm training for the marathon because I've already committed to doing it. And so whether it is actually putting a calendar date and a competition, or if it's just the goals you have for life, is I shifted my language where I never say trying anymore. It's like, I'm not trying to lose weight. It's like I'm training for this next goal, or I'm training to be this person, or I'm an athlete, so I train like one. And so that powerful, whether it is you sign up or not, that powerful language and perspective of assuming like, hey, I already am that person, so I'm just training like it, is way different than I'm trying to get somewhere.
Dude, so funny you mentioned that. I actually used the word try this morning in a text to my buddy, and I caught myself. I was like, that sounds so weak. So my buddy Eric is training for the Lake Placid Ironman in July. And so he's been logging a lot of long workouts. And so I have my road bike. I haven't ridden my road bike in like a decade, but I got some new tubes and I tuned it up and everything. And I'm like, I was texting him this morning. I was like, I'm going to try to get out this weekend to log some miles. And like, as soon as I sent it, I'm like, that sounds so weak. Like, commit to it, because it gives you that out. And like several times throughout this whole conversation, Cole, like it's clear to me that like you're very intentional with the words that you use. Like, and that's intentional, I'm sure. It's so powerful though. Like we've got to like, whether it's our identity or like using the word try, like the words that we use are so powerful, right?
Yeah. I mean, I believe at least the Bible I read says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Like, and I've read a lot of scientific studies that back that up too. I actually read one the other day where they took two groups of plants in the same greenhouse and they split the greenhouse in half, and they had half the plants where they had a group of people come in and daily speak like words of death and negativity over them. Like, you're going to die. You're not healthy. You won't live. You're terrible. Like, whatever it is. And they did the same thing on the other side, but the positive with those plants where it's like, you're beautiful, you're healthy, you're growing, you will produce fruit. And the study showed there was actually a dramatic difference in the growth rates and the health of those plants because of the vocalization over them. And I some of that may sound woo-woo, like, I don't know, like that's just kind of interesting to me. But when you think about it, like, I was a former musician. And so as I was a pastor at a church, a lot of what I did was the music. And there's a super like crazy thing that happens whenever we sing or whenever you play musical notes, how it affects the physical matter around you. Like if you've heard or seen the videos of a girl hitting a really high note and the glass breaks, or someone humming and it like buzzes somewhere else, like there's actual frequencies coming out of our mouths, and the positive and negative words actually carry a different frequency level. It's weird scientifically. I don't know enough about it, but as I've dug into that, like there's so much more power in the words we say than we think. It's not just like, oh, I'll put you in a good mood, or no, like it actually affects physical matter at a cellular level. And so, yes, wow. The specific words that I say, I try to be very intentional because everything has power that you say.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, you guys listening and watching thought we were going to talk about like, meathead stuff like lifting weights and like smashing protein. That's all part of it. But yeah, like so much of it is about mindset. And dude, like, again, back to business, right? Like we help our clients with, mostly marketing, and it's like companies want leads and they want more sales and appointments and all that. And it's like, okay, great. But let's dig in and ask some questions about like what's going on beneath the surface. And, there's always like, answering someone's question with a better question is like so powerful. So there's always like the surface level, and then you got to go deeper. Like I said, like, I forget, I'm taking notes down here, but, the roots, not just the fruits, like that, that makes so much sense.
Well, I think that's why we're different than most health coaching companies. Is it's not just some meathead trainers, and that knows no knock. I've been that person before that only knows the physical body and knows how to move and knows what to eat. Like we go much deeper than that. Honestly, like physical is not even my focus. Like I spend most of my time on business and personal development. And we have a team of people that are much smarter than me that I'm not even allowed to coach our people anymore on the actual physical because they know more than me. And our dietitians and nutritionists and trainers and the doctors that we help bring in to partner with us, like they know way more. That was their master's degree and their doctorates. Right. Mine was in business, and I spend most of my time studying, the mind and the internal human. And so all I had to say is that's what makes us different, is not only do we understand much more than the physical bodies, we understand what it really takes for lasting change is fixing the internal, because the outer world reflects the internal world. But second is we understand business owners, because like that's me. Like I spend all my time building businesses, talking about businesses. I've done tons of consulting as well. I have a master's in business, certified in operating systems. Like you're getting someone that's training you in your physical body that comes from a perspective of I think and act and look just like you. And for the travel stuff too, like we built our concierge service because of me. Like I travel every single week speaking at events. Like that's where I met you. I'm either speaking or networking at these masterminds, or, going to these events where we have sponsor booths or something along those lines where we're getting in front of business owners. And I had to ask the same questions as like, one, what things would support me to stay consistent that would save me time and keep me on track? But two, what are the things that I figured out that are like mental hacks and shifts that have made me do this while still traveling? And so we've kind of distilled that into a process that allows them to have those same tools.
Man, that's perfect. That's awesome. When you get tripped up, right? Like you're not perfect. When you like, I don't know, if you don't feel like working out or you fall off your diet, like, how do you get back on track? What does Cole do?
Well, and I think I love that you asked that, because there's a lot of, especially in the personal development coaching space, people that preach, I never miss. Like, if you miss, you have no discipline. And I'm like, well, you're just like, one, either you're a liar, or two, you don't live a life. Like you don't have a family, you don't have people you care about. There's not things that you are more important to you than your discipline. Like there's times in life where it's like, yeah, I'm going to stay up a little later because my family's in town and I want to make the most of that time, or I'm choosing to travel and sacrifice these routines because there's other things I care about, or whatever that is. And so I hate that people preach like, I haven't missed this in 10 years. I get up at 4 a.m. every day. And I'm like, wow, your family, I'm sure must love you. Like you've never had any, like, I'm sure they love living with you. You seem real fun. And so I think it's important to understand that real life is not perfect and it's always progress over perfection. But for me, when I make those times when they are those slides, like there's a couple things I need. Like one, I need people around me. And this is why I've surrounded myself with people that carry that same identity or those same traits, is that will see that and start to call that out of me of like, hey bro, I know you're better than this. Come on, let's get back on this. Like one, I need that. But two, I need a structure to follow that I can commit to. And so there's times where like I get in that, I start to get in the encouragement, and I have to go reach back out to the structure and accountability I have. But the hardest part is making that bridge, which is where, people tend to fall is like, I don't know if I want to make that. And so you've got to, for me, find a way to dig back to the why and and understand, like, why am I doing this in the first place? Like, what can I latch on to that's going to really push me over the edge? And the biggest thing for me typically is the asking myself, what is the alternative? Like looking down the road is like, hey, what if I allow this to continue for 3 more months? Like, how am I going to look? How am I going to feel? Am I going to be pissed at myself? What is it? And like allowing that pain to grow. Because a lot of times the reason we don't change is because we don't feel enough pain, and the pain to change is, it hurts more than it is to just keep doing what we're doing. And so to accelerate that, you have to look forward down the road and say 6 months from now, a year from now, what would life be like if I stayed in this place or if I kept moving in this backwards direction? And usually for me, between those 3 things of, hey, I've got people calling out of me and then trying to encourage me and bring them along. 2, I've got an option for a structure that I can jump into and get that accountability again. And then 3, mentally taking myself forward and saying, hey, do I want to be that person? Do I want to be the guy that hates my body because I did this for 6 more months? Do I want to be the guy that didn't feel good about himself and wishes I wouldn't have done this? Or do I want to make the change now? And usually that's enough to kind of pull you out and get the first step going. And then it's just about, trotting forward until the momentum picks up.
Man, that's awesome. I love that third one of like projecting 3 or 6 months out. Because it's so easy to say like, yeah, I'll start my diet on Monday, right? Like what's one more day? What's one more weekend? But yeah, extrapolating that the next 3 or 6 months, like that's, man, that's powerful.
That's why I love the book Atomic Habits, because it talks so much about those little things over time. But same thing with the book Compound Effect. It's a Darren Hardy book of how those 1% should stack. And a lot of times we think our change has to be this massive shift of like, okay, I got to get recommitted and I got to start this diet. And it's like, no, like that helps. Sure, if you could stick to it, but really the massive change is going to become in the minute movements. It's the small things. And so if I could just commit to something and I do that every day, that compounds dramatically over time. And usually once you can convince, like once you've stretched that or extrapolated that time and you feel that pain, and then you remember like, hey, just small changes lead to big results. How can I just take a small step? And that's where the momentum comes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Compound Effect is probably like top 10 for me all time. I'm guessing you may have read The Slight Edge.
Mm-hmm. It's another good one.
That might be my top favorite book of all time. Like, because it applies to anything and like anything, right? This stuff, business, relationships, whatever. And it's like those small things that may not seem to make a difference today. If you take that curve out 3 to 6 months, like it either goes up or it's going down, So I love that. Cool. So, you were going to say something? No,
I was just going to add one more piece of that. Another quote from Pastor Craig Rochelle is he says, the small things that no one sees lead to the big things that everyone wants. And we usually think it's these massive changes like, hey, I'm successful in business because I did this and I got in front of all these people and I went on this 21 day no sleep thing. It's some massive grandeur thing, but it's not. It's the small things that no one saw, the daily compounding of consistent effects that led to the big things that everybody wanted. It's the same thing in your body too. It's not some like I ran an Ironman and that's why I'm the most in shape person. It's like, honestly, no. Like the people that I know that look and perform the best, it's because of the small compounding habits over time, not because they just crushed it once.
Yeah. You hear Alex Hormozi talks about that. Like, he goes to the gym now and he's like, I don't really have to like work out like a savage because I've been doing it for 17 years, right? And that makes a lot of sense. Man, I love that quote. I'm a huge Craig Rochelle fan. I listen to a lot of his stuff. I haven't heard that one, but that makes a lot of sense. So
yeah, he's incredible.
He is, man. He's pretty jacked too. Like he's like in his 50s.
That's why I'm a big fan of his, because it's, a lot of alignment and passions there where he's in incredible shape. He's a great business leader too. And his podcast is very much about leadership and business principles. And, if you're listening to this, you're like, what's a pastor know about business? Well, he actually runs a massive organization that has 35 campuses or different church buildings across the country, thousands of employees. And that's just the nonprofit side. They also have a tons of real estate they do. They have a massive app that has 500 million users. Like he runs a massive ship that any business owner that knows their stuff would respect. And so for him to have business knowledge and leadership knowledge, be in incredible shape, be a great father and husband, but then also be a man of faith and live with that integrity. Like he's a guy that like whatever you say, like I'm going to put weight on because that's the standard you hold.
There you go. I love that. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Awesome stuff. Cool, Cole. I appreciate it. Let's wrap up. I want to get into, if you have time for a quick lightning
Yeah.
round of questions, have
Uh-huh.
some fun. But before that, how can people learn more about what you do, get in touch with you, get your help, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, best place to connect is social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever is your jam, LinkedIn, Cole David Taylor. It's my first, middle, and last name. The best place to connect. If you want a bunch of free resources, connect with me on Facebook and I can get you into our free Facebook community. I do trainings in there live every week. There's a free ebook that I give away to all of our members that tells you exactly how to set up your workouts, your nutrition, how to get testing done that you can do it yourself. So best place to connect would be just at Cole David Taylor on any of your social media platforms, or you can just check us out at thestartingline.fit.fit. That'll give you a little more information as well. So great places to connect.
Yeah, sweet. I'm a big fanboy. Cole puts out a ton of really good content on all the platforms. So definitely connect. You're going to be better off for it. So, man, I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, let's jump into a quick lightning round of questions. Just kind of have some fun. The first one here is, if you could be any kitchen appliance, what would you be and why?
Okay. If I could be a kitchen appliance, what would I be and why? I would be an ice cream scoop because all I got to do is eat ice cream every day. Like that's a win. If I could be an ice cream scoop and I could swim in ice cream, I'm in.
All right. So this wasn't on my list, but how many times, like a month or a year, do you have ice cream?
Depends on the season. It's more frequent in times where I'm not trying to lose body fat, or it's less frequent in times when I'm not trying to lose body fat. But right now, it's probably once every 2 weeks. But here's the deal: is I just choose not to, because it's a trade off of, if I eat this ice cream, I have to eat less of other things. I'm going to be more hungry, and so I kind of sacrifice. But usually, I would say at least once every 2 weeks, once a week. During the year I'm eating ice cream. I would eat it almost every day if I could. It's a little counterintuitive to my goals, though.
Nice. Well, he's human. He's human. Everyone. All right. So we talked about a lot of books so far. What book are you currently reading?
Yeah. So I just started this book that I was just telling you about, or not just started. I'm halfway through it. The Power to Change, Craig Rochell's book. And so even the quotes I said of training versus trying, and the small things that nobody sees, it's the big things that everybody wants. Like those come right out of that. I think I'm 3/4 of the way done, and already a massive fan. It's changed a lot for me. So The Power to Change.
All right. I'll pick it up. I know he's got like a lot of books, so I'll look for that one. What's your current morning routine? I'm a big morning routine geek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I break life down into 4 domains. I have friends that call it focus, family, fitness, and finance, or faith, family, fitness, and finance. We've actually just kind of changed it to call it mind, muscle, marriage, and money. Whatever you're calling it, it's internal man, body, relationships, and business. And so I actually have 2 habits that I do for each of those every day. For my mind, I have mindset and memoirs, which is basically I'm taking 3 to 5 minutes and setting my mind, either listening to an encouraging thing or focusing on gratitude or journaling, visualization, something to set my mind. And the memoirs is taking a minute or two to journal about that, whether it's like, here's how I'm going to apply this today, or here's something that stood out to me as I was listening to this podcast, like taking time to set my mind and write it down. So that's the first one for mind. And then muscle, as I start the day with some sort of movement, whether it's my full workout or if I'm just going for a quick walk, if I'm going to work out later, or if I don't have a workout that day, starting with movement. And then what we call our morning mix, which is a greens drink. We're about to release this to our clients and give them our new supplement line. But I take some sort of greens and reds and vitamin mix. So mind is mindset and memoirs. Muscle is our movement and mix, the morning mix. And then for marriage, it's what we call love deposits. So I pick 2 people and I either send them a text, send them a voice note, give them a call, write a note, give them a hug, something to pour into 2 people. And then lastly, for business or for money, it's similar to mindset and memoirs. It's money set and memoirs, of where I'm going to take a few minutes and I'm going to grow my business knowledge, grow my leadership, listen to a podcast, read a book, something. And then I'm going to write down how I'm going to apply that as well. And so taking 2 habits in all 4 areas. And that's how I start my morning. And it can be 20 to 30 minutes. It could be really short. It could be longer if I have more time. Just depends on what that looks like. I have other things I do too, like reading scripture or praying. But those are kind of my core structure that I follow, is those 8 habits within those 4 domains.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That reminds me of, I think Garrett J. White like had something similar. Was that derived from? Okay,
Yeah, very similar. So I've actually know Garrett not super well, but a couple of my mentors were warrior guys and have similar frameworks, and so it's a derivative, like you said, a derivative of that. Very similar.
Yeah, man, I love that. I wrote that down, so I'm gonna adopt some of that. What are you doing on a free Saturday? Got no work, the chores are done, you got the day to yourself.
Yeah, one of two things. If I'm at home, I will. There's always some sort of movement. Like I just enjoy starting that day. Usually Saturdays for me are like a longer workout where you can take your time. It's not like I'm not in and out because I got stuff to do. So I like doing that, and with friends, it's a great place for me to connect with people. So I have a buddy or two where we'll go work out and just hang out and talk and go eat. And then the rest of the day, it's rest, enjoy, maybe go to dinner with family, hang out with my niece and nephews, play ping pong, something along those lines. So things that are restful, recovering, and fill my cup. That would be if I'm at home. If not, I would love to be at the lake, on the boat, skiing, wakeboarding, jet skiing, whatever I can do to just get some sun and water. So those would be my two choices.
Awesome, man. Sounds perfect. Well, that's all I got, Cole. I appreciate spending the time to pour into our audience. Like, this is awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, it was an honor to be here. Hope it was encouraging to everybody.
All right. Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon, man.